Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. You can find me and my books on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. You can find my books on Amazon as well, Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Were Not Enough, Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth, and Raised by These Wolves, How Family and Federal Courts Are Failing Our Children. You can also feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. I'm very honored to have Rick Henry on my podcast. He resides in Louisville, Kentucky. He's suffering under Judge Lauren Ogden and her rulings, where this father had custody for 3 years and she dismissed it because she refuses to look at his solid evidence. She would rather take word of mouth, which is more important to her than this father's solid evidence. You can find Mr. Henry on TikTok. He's at Rick Henry 43. And I'm jealous of him because he has 32.2 thousand views and I don't. And I totally welcome you, Mr. Henry. You know, I feel bad for your situation and what this judge is doing. Where are you and how did this happen to you with your case?
Well, I've been fighting for years for my daughter. I'm just going to use the name Jay. Um, Once me and the mom split up, the mom has a tendency of pulling toward the wrong people, boyfriends mainly. When we split up, one of her first boyfriends was a guy that was convicted of him and four other guys brutally beat and raped a girl outside of an elementary school. He was living in the home with my daughter. I told CPS about the situation. CPS said it was totally okay. It was fine. They tend to turn their head on a lot of situations. My daughter's step grandpa was kissing her in the mouth, jumping in the tub with her. CPS told me that it was okay, sweet kisses. My daughter couldn't tell him no. These things, I believe, led my daughter and put my daughter in harm. I went to court 30, 40 times to try to get somebody to straighten this out, get my daughter out of harm's way. I was told that she was totally fine. I didn't know what I was talking about. I was over exaggerating. And they went far as enough to say CPS didn't believe me. Nobody believed me. My ex started dating the guy. His name was Terry Rollins. This guy I'd got a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning one night that he had pulled a gun out on my child's mother. At this point, we were no longer involved, so I didn't really care about the situation. But I did know that this was an issue that would be dangerous for my daughter. With this being said, I asked the court and asked court for help. They refused to do it. I get a phone call from my mom when I'm getting off of work, and she's telling me that she got a call from CPS. Apparently, they didn't have a phone number from me, and I've been to court numerous times. They called my mom and told my mom that my daughter had been shot 4 days prior to them letting us know what happened. Apparently, as the story goes, mom and Terry Rollins had went to a club, and with them going to the club, Mr. Rollins was caught talking to another girl at the club, giving her phone number. Mom was upset. On their way home, mom goes to the house. Terry stays in the car. Mom sends my daughter Jay downstairs to tell
Mm.
Terry to come upstairs because she wants him upstairs. And he tells Terry, Mom's worried about you. She wants you to come upstairs in the house. My daughter notices he's drunk, belligerent. He threatens to shoot my daughter. My daughter tells him, "You're not going to shoot me." But she's on the phone with one of her friends. Terry pulls out the gun, shoots my daughter. Bullet enters her hand, blows it in the knuckle into 34 pieces, comes out of her hand, goes into her arm, damaging nerves, and comes out of the back of her arm. My daughter runs to the house, tell mom what happened. I've been shot. I've been shot. Mom decides that she's gone. That the wound was, as she put in the court documents, that she thought my daughter had been scratched.
Oh,
Um, with this being said, we found out later because mom and daughter were both connected to the same Facebook password. I mean, yes, Facebook password that mom had begged Terry to come back in the house with the text saying that I want you back in the house. I'm worried about you. Get in here before they come. I want to make sure you're okay. So the
oh.
guy comes back up to the house, lays down, and is able to lay down with his gun in the house while my daughter's up there wrapped up where she's been bleeding. Uh, Later to find out that mom actually had to pay another girl that was in Indiana, passed up 5 hospitals, drove back home, even had enough time to grab Terry Taco Bell's, but not
Oh,
able to take my daughter to a hospital. Um, when the police finally gained interest to the house after the fourth or fifth time they got there, because Jay's friend had called the police and they did a welfare check numerous times, but they couldn't gain access to the house. The police get there, and my daughter's told to tell the police that she fell off her bike.
mm-hmm.
At this point, when they gain access, it's 17 hours later. Um, my daughter tells them that she fell off her bike, and when they unwrap, they notice that it's not a bike wound; it's a gunshot wound. My daughter took it to the hospital. 4 days later, I'm notified about it. Um, how I get custody of her is I had a lawyer at the time, and she told him, she said, "Hey, the child should go to the father." Even with the court getting this information that what happened to my daughter, they kind of fought it. My ex's lawyer, she said, "We'd rather the daughter to go to a home and not go to him. We don't want the daughter to go to him. We don't think it's safe with him." Noticing the situation that just happened, they claimed that my daughter's not safe with me. Um, I get custody of my daughter, and then I also get a stipulation of rules. The rules that I have to take my daughter to the doctor, which is no problem. I asked CPS, can I get a medical card? CPS told me that I had taken responsibility of my daughter 100%, so they wasn't going to ask the mother to give me a social security card. I need to figure out how to pay the bills myself. Um, but CPS was able to bring me over a gift bag of potato chips and eyelashes for my daughter from the mother, but was unable to ask for a medical card. So recently, past this situation, since mother had took her classes or whatnot and did everything that the court had asked her to do, mother has had another incident at her home with a shooting, which was last year. She's had so the second shooting she's had within 3 years at her home. She's had armed gunmen run into her house, and once the house was burglarized about 3 months ago by armed men. They found ammunition and guns in the house. March the 8th, her present boyfriend was shot at the home after a home invasion with 3 armed guys. And in 2022, the home was also um, robbed. They were robbed by another set of gunmen. So it's been 4 incidents in the last 3 years involving guns at that home. One of the papers I did realize that I had recently said one of the witnesses shared the same zip code as me. So I'm not totally for sure, but the possibility that that witness was my daughter is possible. So at this point, I gotta, so going past things, after all of this has accumulated, 3 years later, I get a call from my daughter's school, and my daughter skipped class and was going to fight a girl. Her and another girl was going to go jump a girl in class. The counselor calls me, and I ask her what's going on. She tells me, "Hey, Jay has got in trouble. You come up here and get her. Plus, I need to talk to you about something." I head up to the school building, and the counselor tells me, she says, "Well, the reason your daughter wanted to fight the other girl, she begged me not to tell you." She said, "But the girl had child pornography of your daughter on the phone."
Mm.
Said, "Oh," and showed me pictures of the child pornography. So I told her that my daughter would no longer be having a phone. I'm taking my daughter's phone from her. She would not have it no more.
Mm.
Daughter gets upset on the way home. She calls her mom, and her mom says, "He can't take your phone. The hell with him. He's not gonna take your phone. F him, F that. He's
Oh,
not gonna take that phone." So I take my daughter's phone. She yells when I grab the phone. Her mama yells, "Run to the store next door to you, and I'll be there." My daughter jumps out of my truck. She runs next door to the store right beside where we live at. I have my phone in hand. Call the police to let them know the situation. Mom's not supposed to be at my house. She's came here before, and she's not supposed to be here. The judge wrote in paperwork. She's not supposed to be here. Mom shows up to the store, and I'm sitting there waiting for the police to get there. They pass me up. I walk to the street. I flag them down. "Hey, I'm right here. You guys are passing
oh,
me up." The police pull up, they walk past me and go talk to the mom. And I'm like, I called. Why did you guys pass me up? I'm doing a call. Mom tells the police, he beat my child. He beat my child. I'm scared for her. She's in danger with him. I'm terrified for her life.
Ah.
Noticing that mom has 4 felonies stemming from my daughter's shooting. One of them being neglect and tampering with physical evidence, and she also intimidated a witness, which was my daughter. So I tell the police, I said, hey, it's fine. I said, why don't you take her down to the hospital? I said, have them run a skin assessment on her. That way we can come to the solution. Everything's figured out. It's no wondering, guessing. We can do this way. It's just a smart way for everybody to handle the situation. They take my daughter down there. They run a skin assessment. My daughter's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with her. No red marks, no bruises, no defense wounds, no scratches. The doctor comes out and tells me, hey, your daughter, she's fine. She's just upset because you took her phone. But she wants to stay here the rest of the night. So she gets to stay here tonight, and you just had to come pick her up tomorrow. Violating my rights as a parent, that's what the hospital did. So they called me the next day. The nurses talked to my daughter and said, hey, I talked to Jada. I told her you was coming up here to pick her up. And she said, so she's waiting for you to come pick her up. On the way to the hospital, me and my mom go to the hospital, and we noticed Jay's mom coming from the hospital. We get there, and I say, hey, did she have any visitors there? And they said, no, she hasn't had any visitors. The lady at the front desk, she calls us there, says, has anybody been in Jay's room? And the lady said, yeah, her mother was here. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Why was she here? And they said, oh, we don't know. They look on the computer and find out that mom's red flag from the last time Jada was in the hospital. They said, mom wasn't supposed to be up there. We don't even know how mom was able to gain access to Jay's room. So with that being said,
Mm-hmm.
I go up to the room to get my daughter, and she's doing the fit. No, you can't take me. You beat. And the doctors are like, no, that's already been proven that he hasn't. So I said, just for a learning lesson to show your child that the grass is not green on the other side. I mean, we all done it as kids, not listening to our parents. So I think that we can do whatever we want to do it at that teenage age.
Mm-hmm.
So I told her, I said, take her to a safe place. Let her see that, you can't run and do everything you want to do there, Not noticing that, and I didn't have any idea that mom had showed up and gave Jay two additional phones to use, even though she was distributing child pornography.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes, safe place. I tell safe place, don't let her contact anybody. Let her sit here and think about what she's done. I get a call back the next morning that she disappeared. Mom has come pick her up and ran her to her parents' house. I put this in court, and the Judge Ackerman tells me, she says, well, sometimes kids want to be where they can do more. And I say, well, it's child pornography. I
Oh
don't know
my
how this is
God.
acceptable. And it's all video. It's all on video. I bought off video from the court. And mom claims that she's terrified that the daughter's in danger. And I'm like, I don't know how the daughter's in danger. I've had her for 3 years without any incidents, any problems. She's only prospered since she's been with me. She was failing when I got her. She missing 40 assignments. And they was on the NTI program at the time where she didn't even have to physically go to school. It was you do the schooling on the computer. But 40 assignments were missed. I made promises to her, gave her little gifts to incentives to make better grades. I said, if you pass the 7th grade when I got her, because she was totally failing, you pass the 7th grade, I take you to see Rod Wave, which is somebody she's excited about seeing. Take her to see Rod Wave. I posted it on my TikTok, and the video states that, I told my daughter she passed 7th grade, I'll take her somewhere special. I took her to see Rod Wave.
Mm-hmm.
So I told her, I said, if you graduate, and you go all the way and you do the best you can do. I mean, I'm talking about honor roll and stuff like that. I think you do something exciting. I told her I was going to take her to Arizona. I wound up taking her to New York City. I posted that on my Facebook. I mean, on my TikTok. I posted that on there. But at this point, the judge claims that, that I guess that it's not safe for my daughter to be with me. No reason why. I have no stipulations with CPS, and none with the law. I have no felonies. But the judge came to the conclusion. She asked after my ex took my child, she said, "Where's the child now?" And they said, "The child is in school." And I said, "I have the paperwork that says the child's not in school." And they said, "Oh no, the child's not in school. The child is at the grandparents' house." She was at school, but then they took it to the grandparents' house. School starts at 8:30, court starts at 10:30. So you're telling me from the time at 8:30 when this child was at school, then the grandparents picked her up and took her home from between 8:30 and 10:30. So the judge tells me, well, at this point, we're just going to let the child stay with the grandparents. The grandparents have never shown up in the court at all. They've never been in Judge Ogden's court, not one time. She's never spoke to him as far as I know. But Judge Ogden is on camera with us telling us that she's very familiar with my ex's family and she's never met them. My mom's been in court for
Mhm.
five times with Judge Ogden, and Judge Ogden is not familiar with my mother, has never said a word to my mother. And her parents have never been in court. So how would you be familiar with somebody who's never shown up in your courtroom and give custody of a child to people you've never even met? And then say you're familiar with. To be familiar, you have to know them. So the only way you can know them would be from you knowing them outside the courtroom, which is pro se communication, which is illegal.
Mhm.
Um, but through the Facebook posts and everything, we do see that the child is living with mom.
Mhm.
And mom shouldn't have the child at all. It's unsafe. Since then, I had my daughter write something that said, "Oh, my dad beat me for 3 years." I mean, and she's smiling on the video, and I'm thinking, "Wow, who put you up to this?"
Uh-huh.
You've been with me 3 years, and never anything's never been said that I beat her unless mom comes around. When mom comes around, it's dad's the bad guy. But there's no stipulations, nothing on me. And the current CPS worker now, he said, well, I've been trying to get a hold of the mom, but she told me that she's not going to see me unless I make an appointment with her. He said, I've been to the house numerous times. He's been to the grandparents' house. The child is not there. He said, I haven't even seen the mother. He said, I've shown up 3 or 4 times. He said, I don't know what to do. He said, at this point, I got to ask my supervisor, what do I do if she just ignores me? He said, there's nothing I can do. So where we're at now is I do go to court again Monday, which is tomorrow, and I do show them evidence of the 4 prior incidents at the home involving guns, robberies, shootings since my daughter's shooting. And again, see if the judges say if this is safe or whatever the issue is, because apparently living in my home is unsafe. I have cameras, I have my daughter wanted a dog to feel safe. I got a pit bull, which is very lovable. I don't think she would do anything to
Mhm.
anybody if they had broken my house or anything. But I've never had any issues with any armed men in my house. I've been here over 3 years. No armed men, not a burglary. I've never had anybody tap my window or tap my door. It's been 100% safer. But the mother has these 4 situations in 3 years that all involve guns and 2 shootings, a robbery, and a burglary. And these are not places where this is not places safe for an adult. So I know
Uh-uh.
they wouldn't be safe for a child. And the boyfriend that the mom's with now, he does have a record of he was locked up recently in Floyd County for methamphetamine dealing, cocaine dealing, and marijuana. They found all 3 of these drugs on him. Mom claims she doesn't know him, but I've shown 25 pictures of them holding hands, kissing, driving in cars with guns, and they went so far to tell me that him having a gun in the car, it's a cell phone. I'm unable to tell a 9 millimeter Glock from a cell phone, but
Mhm.
everybody outside of the courthouse says that's a gun. How can you mistake that for a cell phone? But I kind of digress on that situation. I'm just not going to
Well,
be heard.
well, the thing is, I noticed by watching your TikToks, the opposing counsel is constantly interrupting you. They don't let you talk. As soon as you open your mouth, they totally bait and jump in.
Yeah, correct.
Very
They
disrespectful.
yeah, terribly. And it's one video that I have posted where she's even basically telling the judge to shut up. She's telling the judge starts talking. She tells the judge, "No, I'm talking right now," and the judge
Oh,
shuts up and lets her talk. And I'm
whoa.
like, "Wow, how did that happen?" But they have been caught numerous lies where my ex's lawyer has turned the paperwork saying that the therapist stated that Jada needs to be at home,
Mm-hmm.
and I refute that paperwork with my paperwork and said here's paperwork from her boss and said they don't do that. So whoever said that, they're telling a terrible lie, and they're not supposed to do that. And with that, in one court session that I have on my TikTok, I refute what they say, and at least 5 times, and show that each thing they say is a lie. And every time I say one thing, they say another. And they say, the mom picked up the child from my house at one point in time and ran off with my kid. And they said, no, the child ran off and ran down the street, hid in a ditch. There's no ditches around here.
Mm-hmm.
She hid in the ditch. She was scared. She went to Waffle House. She begged somebody to use the phone. These people told a 15-year-old at the time that nobody would help her. She was in distress. She was terrified. Nobody would let her use the phone, which I 100% don't believe that see that happening.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I showed the evidence that I had a witness her and also had text messages and phone calls where I had got a hold of the mother and the mother had came in front of my house and picked up my child and took off. Um, the judge, the other party said, "Oh, well, okay, she did come and pick her up, but you just said that the child ran off and ran down the street and was in distress. But then you turn right back around and say, oh no, the mother went over there and picked her up after you seen that I had the proof and the evidence that the mother did." So with that being said, I asked the judge, I said, shouldn't we dismiss everything they're saying because they've been calling 4 or 5 lies in your courtroom and changed the story 3 or 4 times? And the judge refused to listen. He said, no, no, I'm not gonna. It's no contempt. This every court order that I've had, they have contempted and have not been held responsible.
Well, also the judge said that the shooting that was in the past.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. I didn't know that if you shot somebody, give or take, a year or 2 years later, then it didn't matter anymore. It was okay. But apparently in the court of law, it does, which doesn't make sense to me at all.
No.
When my daughter was shot, they gave me all kind of stipulations. They had CPS her every month. They had my daughter in counseling every week. They had me taking my daughter to the hospital once, like every 2 weeks. They had me taking random drug tests. I wasn't even involved in the situation. I've been taking random drug tests for a long time. It's probably been 10 years. I've never
Oh,
used a hard drug in my life. They also said that I couldn't have alcohol, so I couldn't go out even with my buddies. Like if I had a hard day at work, I couldn't stop and say, "Hey, I'm going to bar and have a beer." No, they alcohol tested me too. While mom was steadily on Facebook and TikTok, pictures with her holding alcohol bottles and stuff like that, and they
oh.
said it was perfectly fine. I need to worry about myself, not worry about what mom was doing.
Uh,
And what made it so strange is when my daughter was in counseling, the counselor told her that, mom never did anything wrong to you. Mom didn't do anything wrong. So they didn't want my daughter to say mom did anything wrong. The whole idea was to bluntly mold my daughter to say, you know, mom didn't do anything wrong. It was whoever that did it to you was wrong. The
oh
fact that
no,
mom
no.
didn't get you help, she didn't do anything wrong. When
Mom's an
my daughter
accomplice. Who is this counselor? I mean,
we've had a couple counselors. Most of them that when they do find out the truth, they can't speak or they disappear. When it first started out, we had a lady named Dr. CD, and she had asked Jada in front of me. I mean, weird questions she asked in front of me one time. She said, Jada, she said, I have a question. She said, where do you want to live at? And my daughter, she said, I want to live with my dad. And she said, well, if you had a magic wand and you could do anything you wanted to do, what would you do? She said, I would do something to my mom. She said, but I'm not going to say what it is. And it went, and I was like, are we going to send that to the court and let them know what was said? No, that lady disappeared. At this point now, they're just asking me to pay money. I mean a ridiculous amount of money. They put in a garden of item. She
oh,
wants 200.
a third party parasite.
Yeah, $250 an hour. My ex, she doesn't pay for her lawyer. Her parents does. Her parents pay for her. They just want me to pay money. At one point in time, they had me paying support, which was $400 a month. They had me paying Dr. Seavey every week $250 to see my daughter for an hour. Um,
Oh my
and then they
God.
wanted to appoint a garden ad litem, which was $250, and the drug test and all that. And I mean, on the upwards, I told them, I said, I don't really have, $4 or $5,000 to put out, a month. I don't have that, and these don't count for my bills or how I live or how I eat. Nobody can keep up. Not unless I was a basketball player. No way I
Right.
could afford this. But now they're doing the same thing again. They took my daughter. They don't have a reason. The judge is telling me that my daughter's been through trauma. That's why I can't see my daughter. I'd have no access to my daughter. And we have another garden of lighting, which is probably about the fifth one. And I'm the only one that has to pay. Mother never has to pay anything. Um, but they're saying she's $250 an hour, and then they're telling me to even look at my. Everybody's telling me to even look at my evidence. It's going to cost me to get another lawyer, which on upward $2,500 for a lawyer. So I would be paying two lawyers at the same time, and I'm looking at maybe about 5,000 a month to do that just to get somebody to listen to my case because
Oh,
I'm a litigant. So it makes things very, very hard to do. I get a lot of comments on TikTok that say, "Well, why don't you just get a lawyer?" And I'm like, "Well, it sounds nice to just be able to just." I've done this in the past. I've had four lawyers, and I've basically closed a 401 count, 401k account for $22,000. I've closed it on trying to see my child. At this point, I'm back at the same route I was in the first time when I started this whole proceeding. So,
oh, this is terrible. I'm really sorry they are corrupting your daughter. These psychologists are aiding and abetting child psychological abuse. And they should have their licenses revoked, and they should probably just be working at Burger King. They'd be doing a better service. And I'm
and
so sorry.
okay. And the crazy thing about another thing I wanted to mention is after my daughter was shot, the mother had enough audacity. She drove all the way to way past New Albany, Indiana, and picked up her granddaughter and brought her granddaughter back home. Brought her granddaughter back while my daughter was in the car bleeding. She picked up her granddaughter. She has two other kids that she doesn't have custody of. And with this one, she she didn't have custody of either. But now I think what the thing was, the judge decided, well, I can't possibly give her back to the mother without drawing attention. So the next step is I say I give the kid to her parents, and then her parents can give her the kid. And this way, I'm not putting myself in a bad spot.
Oh, she's already in a bad spot. I mean,
Oh yeah.
uh, she, oh, there's so many out there that should not be on the bench. I'm,
Oh,
you're
it's bad.
right, right. And when your daughter was shot, she was just upstairs. She was like, was she in the bathroom or in her bedroom or?
Laying in a bed. Laying on a bed. When the police finally got there, the guy was on the bed. And I'm assuming at one point in time he was laying in the bed with his gun in the bed that he had shot my daughter with. And then when I looked at some of the recent paperwork, apparently the mother took the gun and hid the gun after the police got in there. And I guess somehow they finally realized what was going on and actually investigated the whole situation, but the mother was allowed to ride to the hospital with my child after my child was shot, and nobody got her attention for 17 hours. She rode to the hospital with my child, was in the hospital room with my child, and I mean, basically threatened her on what she needed to say, what needed to be done, and until they finally kicked her out. The doctors wrote in a report that mother was inciting the daughter, and they believed that mother was making the daughter say she was going to run away. She was refusing treatment. At one point in time, the mother called to the hospital, had a friend call and say, "Oh my God, your mother's in danger. Oh my God, she's not safe. They're going to get your mama." And my daughter cut up really, really bad, and it was all in the court documents.
Just terrible. Just Yeah, I mean, and the pain that your daughter must have been in. I've never been shot. I can't imagine.
No, me, she's mentally, she has some problems mentally, but until somebody actually takes the time to get to know what she's doing and some of the stuff that she's been taught to do, like um, making up stories or trying to clean up things. At one point in time, my mother told me, it's only three people that know what happened in that house, and we're gonna all die with that secret. So at this point, I don't know what else might have went on in this situation, but I believe it's more of the story that's not going to be told, and I will never hear. My daughter would never tell me what happened. I've went as far as asked them. I said, "Hey, I got two phones from my daughter, and I am aware they have child pornography on it, and I don't know how to get in them. They're iPhones. They have block codes on them. I've tried to give them to the LMPD. They refuse to take them. I called the FBI. They refuse to take them. I've called the Crimes Against Children. They refuse to take them. I said, I'm pretty sure that these things are going on at the mom's house, the child pornography. And I said, at least if you guys get in there, keep the phones. I don't care. I'm not, I will bring the phone to you. You don't have to disperse an officer here. I will take the phones to you guys and you guys go through it and get whatever information you have because I've heard that it was video on there with my daughter with grown men.
Uh-huh.
And at that point, it's child pornography. And, then at that point, it's rape, at this point, because it's an adult man. But they refused to take it. I've asked the judge, and she told me, she said, well, maybe try to get a lawyer and figure it out. That's what the judge told me. It's on film. I bought that video too. But she told me, well, maybe you get a lawyer, maybe they can figure it out. Maybe that happens. But the funny thing about it is, if you notice a lot of my videos when I'm talking to the judge, she'll sit and eat candy and laugh and smile. And I mean, it's almost like she's having a little party. When I'm telling her, all these disgusting things happen to my daughter, she eats candy, pops candy, and laughs. And, oh, well, Mr. Henry, well, see you at a later time. It's fun and games. I guess it's not her child, so it's not as important as it is because it's mine.
Well, she addresses you like you're in the fourth grade.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that would just get on my last good nerve.
Well, I think that's the idea. The idea is for me to
Oh,
be hostile.
yeah.
A lot of people see black guys and we're supposed to be angry, we're supposed to be mad, we're supposed to be aggressive. I'm not. I'm neither one of those things.
No.
I'm a very happy person. I
Mm-mm.
mean, I do get over excited when I'm telling my story to try to get it out there. There's so much I want to say, and it's so little time I'm given to say anything. So
Mhm.
when I'm given that opportunity to talk and tell my story, then I'm going 100 miles a minute. My brain is steadily moving. It's like a car getting turned on, the engine steadily running, and I'm talking, I'm talking. And most of the time, people got to stop me, like, hey, hey, I get the idea.
Mhm.
I just want everything to be heard. I don't want to miss a beat. Um, at least if anything happens to my child, I know that I put in 100% on everything I can to try to protect her.
Right.
She doesn't see that idea. My daughter doesn't. She's 16. She sees rap videos, movies. She thinks that the life that her mom and mom's boyfriend is living is cool. People breaking in your house. Somebody
Oh.
gets shot to go to the hospital. They make it out. They're okay. That's that life that it's cool. It's fast money. And one of the paperwork's mom walked out and gave somebody $1,200, and the robbers went away.
Mm.
And those type of things she thinks is cool. Mom's showed up in my house in like 8 different cars, but through the court circuit, mom has no job. Mom's been in a bad accident. She can barely move, so she can't do any of these things. But mom is showing up every other week in a new car. With no
Mhm.
job. And she's had a house broken into twice, and somebody broke into a safe and stole currency of money and coins. And for somebody who can't pay $214 in child support a month, or is behind a year and a half in child support a month, how is she handing robbers over $1,200 when they break into a house? And why have they broken into her house? On the upwards of 3 times. With mask on to rob the house of a woman that does not have a job.
Oh, yeah,
It's
that's
it's obvious. It's obvious.
right.
It's so obvious. And it's just somebody listening. That's all it takes is somebody willing to do the right thing.
And this judge is not going to do the right thing. I don't know how many brain cells she has up there to not figure this out and to listen to you and be fair.
I
That's
don't
all.
think it's listening. I don't think it's listening. I think the idea is I've had at least 7 other people from her courtroom contact me. I had a guy chase me outside the courtroom. One of my court, I wish the court cameras would have caught him, but it was a guy sitting in the back row, my last court day, and he ran out of the courtroom and talked to me, gave me his number. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you going through that. He's like, you don't know what I'm going through with him. He said, the same judge, he was in the same courtroom. I had a lady besides me while the judge had another court case going on, and she handed me a phone number. I had another lady catch me downstairs. I had another guy that was in there, caught me before I got to the elevator. So at this point, it's 4 people in that court hearing that stopped me outside of the court. And I was like, wow. So apparently people are really listening to what I'm saying, but Steve's not listening. Because at first I'm thinking maybe I'm just not explaining things right, or maybe it's confusing what I say. But when I have people follow me outside the courtroom and say, wait a minute, I'm sorry about what happened, man. I'm going through the same thing. I'm going through the same thing. What do we need to do? Then that draws my attention. It's like, wait a minute, it's just not me. It's other people in her. And the fact that whenever my court cases come in court, I watch the judge. She does this certain thing that I watch that I've noticed. And I told my mom because my mom's been there several times. I said, for some reason, when my court case comes up, so you'll see her pick up my photo, read the name, just set my photo right back down. And she'll wait until the end of the court before she calls my case. Like once at least 80% of everybody in the courtroom is gone, is when she calls my case. And I call all the attorney cases first. So why would you call the regular people first, the litigants that don't have attorneys, and then you wait to the end to call my case? Because there's less room and less people to see what's going on if I'm in there and it's only 2 or 3 people in the courtroom.
Right. And then when you get to speak, she says, well, I only have so much time because I have another case that I have to listen to.
Yes.
How dare she?
Yeah. He has an agenda.
Yeah.
I've heard before, I'm not for sure, but I've heard that these judges get paid off of, by bringing in, third parties, which is the garden of litem and stuff like that, because she's really pushy. I watched her tell a guy one time, the guy in court said, I don't have the money to pay for a garden of litem. She said, well, you can either pay the garden of litem, all right, she said, you can go to jail. And she said, she told the guy, she said, I'm giving you to next Monday. She said, if you don't have the money to the garden of litem, she said, I'm putting you in jail. I'm like, wow. Like, wow, he said,
Man.
well, I don't have this.
See, the taxpayers need to hear this because this is all at their expense as well. If she puts him in jail because she can't pay this third party parasite, this guardian ad litem, and he goes to jail, that's on the taxpayers.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
also,
don't,
yeah, right. And if anything happens to your daughter, that's on her too. She doesn't realize that yet.
yeah, I would say that too. But the thing is, how they play it is, I was the bad guy until I wasn't the bad guy until I had bagged, and they had the judge before her had put in paperwork and documents, and I had it recorded. She said, "I'm going to make sure that and downstairs they know that you can't put anything against this family. This family," she told them, like after I walked out of the courtroom, she said, "You guys don't even worry about coming back in court anymore." She said, "Don't even worry about coming back to court anymore. He's not gonna be able to file anything against you guys again. Tell mom she ain't gotta come here. He's not gonna be able to file anything on her." So all these EPOs that I put in to protect my daughter, which is numerous ones, I have a paperwork here where it states, "Do not let Mr. Henry put anything else in. He's a frivolous EPOs. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Nobody believes him." I mean, this is running the paperwork. And then she
Uh-huh.
tells the people that in court. So after I left the courtroom, you kept the court case going after you dismissed me. You kept talking to the other party. And she tells me, don't worry about coming back in here. And then a little while after that, my daughter shot and injured. And now everybody was my friend then. Everybody was like, oh, Mr. Henry, it's fine. We're gonna put Jada with you, we're gonna figure this out. And now that I'm the bad guy again and I've done nothing wrong and there's nothing against me that would stop me from seeing my child.
Well, She's a child abuser in a black robe.
Mhm.
She is aiding and abetting along with all these other people, you know, child abuse, child psychological abuse. When does this end? I'm so sorry.
Doesn't
No.
it doesn't? I don't believe it does. And I believe as long as you have people that's not being policed and they have this power where there's no repercussions behind anything you do. If I can go into a bank and rob a bank and somebody's gonna slap my hand and say don't do it again, what's gonna ever give me the idea that I need to stop or
Mhm.
this is the wrong thing to do. And as long as nobody's doing that to these judges, they're slapping their hand and say, hey, don't do this again, or be careful when you do it. They're gonna keep doing it. It's no repercussions behind it.
Yeah, I just I feel the judiciary is going to be the downfall of this country because they are deciding what's happening to our youth and they're making really bad decisions. And I
Yeah.
think some of them are doing it on purpose because they're being paid off or, they're BFFs with the opposing attorney, things like that. But they are destroying this country.
It goes on what people feel like they can do or what they can do and get away with it. It's
Mhm.
nobody should have that ultimate power where
No,
it's nobody they don't answer to. These you have a lot of judges up there and they're playing God. You
right.
know,
Oh, yeah.
I don't I don't care about what happens to you. I don't really care. It's like, I can do whatever I want to do. Just I can show you that I can do whatever I want to do, and there's no repercussions behind what I'm doing.
Very well said. And you, just so everyone knows, you are a pro se and you represent yourself.
Hmm.
And you do it very well because us pro ses, we know our case better than our own lawyers.
Correct.
And
Correct. I feel like that's the way I have to do, and because I've had lawyers. I've had one good lawyer out of all the lawyers I've had. She was my last lawyer. I had one good lawyer out of all the lawyers I had. Most of the other ones, they shut up or they won't say anything, or they'll say a couple things and then they'll be quiet. With nobody will fight a case for my child stronger than I will. At the end
right,
of the day.
definitely, definitely. And I want to keep track of your case. I'd like to have you back on again.
I have no problem with that. I'm all for it.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
If anybody else is going through the same thing, reach out to me on my page. Because the more of us get together, I was always told as a kid with my mom, it's strength in numbers. So
Hmm.
anybody that's having the same issues, reach out.
Right. And I also encourage people to court watch. And when you court watch, if there's this judge misbehaving, fill out a judicial complaint and say how was the judge treating the pro se litigant? What were the judge's actions? You can't complain on a ruling from what I've been told, but on how the judge treated you. Like I had a judge wag her finger in my face. So I complained. And you know what? I actually got results. And so I encourage everyone to court watch. Look at Mr. Henry's TikToks. You're court watching. So I'm so glad I had you on. Again, tell us how you can be reached.
Yes, I can be reached at my TikTok page at Rick Henry 43. I do answer everybody back when they write me. It might not be the second that you write me, but within 24 hours, I'm back a hold of you. I'll reach back out because I know if I'm being treated this way, I know that there's others being treated this way.
Right, right. And I also will keep you in my prayers tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
But don't jump off, okay? Slam the Gavel's a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, Apple iTunes, Anchor FM, other platforms I don't know about. Again, buy me a cup of coffee to help keep this podcast going. Thank you so very, very much, Rick Henry. Thank you.
Thank you.